So are we cooked? Honest question, are we cooked? Everybody seems to hate these new regulations. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, they all have problems with the new regs, and a lot of the other drivers are in agreement with them. Let's get right into it. I'm very thirsty. I don't have a Yingling. I gotta get a Yingling after this because I've had a very long day. By the way, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. It helps me in the algorithm. And be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content from MotorYap as we post. Coming out of Bahrain testing, a lot of the drivers have talked publicly about their issues with the new regulations for the 2026 season of Formula One. Max Verstappen being the most vocal, saying that bullshit regs, drive it like you stole it, should be the pinnacle of motorsport. That's not a quote from him. I lied. That's actually what a commenter said in the YouTube section of a video I was watching, and I just thought, hell yeah, man. I 100% agree. What Max Verstappen actually said was, it doesn't feel like Formula One. It feels more like Formula E. Not fun, it feels too technical and not like a racing car. And I totally get that. I think he's right in a way. With these new cars, energy management is the name of the game. You have to lift and coast throughout the entire course. Apparently, you also have to lift on the straights. You can't go full out on the straights into a corner, which is very interesting. I hope that doesn't ruin the on-track product, because at the end of the day, the main thing I care about is the on-track product. Let's be fair. I don't care if Max Verstappen likes driving the car or not. I don't really care. And I might be selfish. I don't care if Lewis Hamilton likes the way the car is. I don't like how there's a big shadow in my green screen. That's going to be really fucking annoying to edit out. All I really care about is how good the actual racing is. For so long, F1 has felt like the winner was decided on Saturday. The Saturday qualifying was where all the action was, and then the race almost felt like a formality on Sunday. So that's really what I want fixed with Formula One. It never seemed, the actual action rarely seems to happen on the track, and that's the thing I want changed with these new regulations. And from what the drivers have been saying, there may be a big issue when it comes to that. It's not just Max Verstappen who's raising some red flags. Speaking of red, Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton, also a 7-time world champion, came out and said that the fans will not understand this, John. It's hella complex. You need a degree to understand it. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And I get it. I get why these cars are hella complicated. F1 is an engineering sport after all. A lot of the allure comes from the different engineers of the different teams trying to outdo each other in this arms race to try and build like the fastest car and just get an unfair advantage over the other teams, like McLaren did the last 2 seasons, and Red Bull the years prior, and Mercedes the years prior. That's really what the name of the game is with Formula One. It's not a spec series, and as much as I love spec racing, like the MX-5 Cup, which I made a video on, I highly recommend you check that out. Please watch that at the end of this video. You open the video in a new tab, save it, and then just come back. But there needs to be a good balance between teams just getting an unholy advantage against each other and the actual on-track product, because it wasn't fun watching Formula One every week when Max Verstappen was winning every race by like 10 country miles. It wasn't fun seeing McLaren win every race every weekend, even though I'm a big fan of Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc has said that overtaking is actually harder in these new cars than it was in the previous generation. Now, again, it's always rough changing. Change is always hard. And I know the new regulations are going to be tough for the new drivers to get used to. But I'm hoping, because a large reason these new regulations are a thing is to make battling easier, to make it easier to overtake without needing DRS. So I'm just hoping that's just a product of them not getting enough racing time, because they've done some race simulations at Bahrain, but you really won't get the full picture until you're actually racing. I do really think it's interesting, though, how Alonso and Hamilton and Max Verstappen all are saying that they don't like these regulations. And then you have Lando Norris basically saying, shut up, we get paid a good enough money, so just shut up and drive. Again, I don't like that idea. I get Formula One and the teams don't really want their drivers shitting on the new regulations before race one even happens. But I feel like if you don't talk about this now, these like things now, then if things do go wrong, everyone's gonna be like, why was no one complaining about this in the first place? So like I totally get that. And going back to what I talked about, how in previous generations when there's a new regulation coming in, The drivers who were dominant at the time did not like those regulations, did not like the new regulations. But over time, they get adapted to it. Teams learn the ins and outs of the regulations, and you're able to do more. So that's why 2026 is just going to be like a fresh starting off point for the new regulation. And I just want to say, I feel so fucking bad for Fernando Alonso. I feel so fucking bad for him, right? Two-time world champion, could have been so many more time world champion. The Aston Martin just does not look good. It's basically a fucking boat. It's literally a fucking boat. 4 seconds off the pace. And this is the new Adrian Newey design, Aston Martin. The problem seems to stem from Honda's power unit. They're using a Honda power unit. And I just want to tangent here for a second. Since when did we stop calling them engines? Since when did we start calling them power units? I may be a little dumb on this conversation here, but like what can I just say? Oh, I drive an Acura. Oh, the power unit in my Acura TSX is leaking oil again. Like, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. Just either way, Honda is screwing up with the engines. They're not up to the specs or the qualifications. They're not up to the standards that Aston Martin have set, and because of that, they're not super compatible with Adrian Newey's design, and now the cars handle terribly, and at their best are still hella fucking slow compared to the rest of the field. So, and Fernando Alonso, dude, you deserve so much better. You deserve so much better, dude. Part of me wants to see Fernando retire, go into IndyCar and get that IndyCar 500 so he gets his triple crown. But at the same time, I love Fernando so much. He's one of my favorite drivers on the grid. It's gonna be really sad when he leaves F1, but it feels like he's being like forced out the door with just how terrible just all the bullshit he has to deal with. I'll just say that. I don't think it's completely over for Aston Martin. I just think they're going to have a really rough start. Hopefully they can find their footing later on in the season. I believe that's around midpoint of the season is when Honda's going to kind of get their shit together and they're going to be able to fix their problems with the new Aston Martin. But at the same time, you never know with Aston Martin, honestly. They're the big wild card, in my opinion, next to Audi. Just because everyone is shitting on these new regulations and there's problems with having to lift and coast throughout the entire course, and there's problems with, having to harvest energy, does that mean that the 2026 season is cooked? I don't want to say that. I don't like thinking negatively. I'm a glass half full type guy. I still think we could have a very good season here. The media, all the talking heads, and drivers in general, it always feels like the end of the world when people talk about things. It's the end of the world. F1's not gonna recover from this. They said it when Max Verstappen was winning every fucking race. I didn't like that, but it wasn't the end of the world. And things get fixed. You're gonna have issues. I'm sure the new regulations are gonna run into a ton of issues, but it's not the end of the world. We're gonna get through them, and I still think we could have a good season. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to the on-track product, at least for me. And again, I'm very selfish. If the drivers all hate driving the cars, but the racing is fun as fuck to watch, I don't care. I don't care what the drivers think. I just care that I'm enjoying the races. And I do think if the championship gets to that point where it's every man for himself, it's a free-for-all. You got George Russell, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Lance Stroll all battling out in front with like 1 to 2 point deficits against each other. I don't know. I think that'd be a baller of a season. Even if the drivers hate driving these cars, I think just the battle in the championship alone and the tension from all that would make these drivers fall in love with it. I don't know. And again, I just think it's a lot of that new regulation bias. People are very much against change. That's just human nature. Humans just hate change. So I think once we get a couple races in and people start getting used to these cars in actual racing simulations, in actual racing situations, I think people are going to start, the drivers especially, are going to start warming up to the new regulations. So is F1 in 2026 cooked? I don't think so. I think we're going to have a good season. And if you want to follow along, I'm making videos every week, starting with Australia GP. Videos are going to kind of be here and there until the start of the F1 season. But I'm going to be covering each race each week as it happens. And of course, any drama that happens around there. But thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. If you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. I'm John Racing, and this is Motor Yap. Have a good night, everybody.